The gig economy, the digital economy, what does this mean to you? Well, the gig economy currently in the United Kingdom alone employs over 7.35 million people. Now, what's that got to do with the world of business? Well, our friends HMRC, in cooperation with the OECD, have introduced a new raft of legislation from the 1st of January 2024, which aims to deal with what they consider tax evasion that results from the gig economy. In this week's video, I'm going to outline what those new rules are, which companies typically are going to be affected by the reporting obligations placed on that, but more importantly, what does that mean for you as a taxpayer? Hi folks, welcome to another weekly episode on I Hate Numbers. This is the platform that's got a simple mission to help you and your business make more money, increase your financial awareness and literacy, reduce your stress and anxiety, and to reduce your tax exposure as well. Who wouldn't want that for their business? I've done that for thousands of businesses over the last 30 odd years, and I want the same for you. Let's crack on with the business. But first of all, let's have an overview of what the new rules actually are and where they've arrived from. Around about July 2020, the OECD, looking at the digital landscape for services, the gig economy, so companies like AirBnB, Fiverr, Upwork, and the like. Millions of people, not just in the UK, but around the world, work for those companies, enjoy that income, but no tax is taken off them at source. Now, in order to deal with that loss of tax revenue, that big increasing tax gap in the UK and around the world, a new set of rules came out to be. And here's the essence of those rules. Companies, those digital companies like Airbnb, Fiverr, Upwork, etc., have a reporting obligation, and from the 1st of January 2024, they must report to the UK tax authorities, and this applies, by the way, to non-UK tax authorities as well. Each country will have its own particular legislation and a way of applying these rules here. They must report who those sellers are, who those people are on their platforms to which they pay remuneration. So that's the first important thing to remember. Now, reporting obligations is not something new. In the world of tax, the sources of income reported by banks is happened on an annual basis. Employers report who they engage, who they employ. So the reporting infrastructure is there. They've just widened the net now to include those people who wouldn't normally be disclosed in a big landscape, such as the digital landscape. So we've got, first of all, the idea that companies like Airbnb, Fiverr, Upwork, many others there as well, will have to report who they're paying monies to. Now, secondly, what will happen is HMRC will do typically what they do. They will wait a year and then they will see what is going to be disclosed on people's tax returns. Now, there are things that you can do if you are an individual who is working part-time, has a side gig, a side hustle, whatever term fits you most closely, whatever term you find most comfortably, is that as long as you keep on top of your tax obligations, everything will be fine. So if historically you're used to generating income, not declaring it, which is a criminal offence, by the way, is called tax evasion compared to tax avoidance, then you must declare that income, otherwise you will be liable to be fined at penalties, and if the amounts are extreme, potentially prosecution could also come forward. Now, there is a few things to bear in mind which might help you. If your gig money, for want of a better phrase, is up to £1,000 in terms of what you earn from that before deducting any expenses, there's nothing to worry about. You have a £1,000 tax-free allowance that will still be eligible unless the government change the rules. So therefore, £1,000, you're exempted, there's nothing to worry about. If your income is over £1,000 in terms of what you collect by way of revenue, by way of fees and sales, then you have to come into the self-assessment tax net. It doesn't automatically mean you'll be paying tax, by the way, but you will have a reporting obligation imposed on you as well. So what we need to think about, folks, going forward is remember those reports will be made. Remember you can earn £1,000 tax-free if that's the level of your sales. Thirdly, earning money and paying tax are two separate things as well. Now, you might be thinking this seems palpably unfair. Well, it may seem unfair, but then again, it may be penalising those people who have no choice, who are working PAYE. They pay their taxes through their employer. For those people who have ancillary income, which has been not declared previously, as I said, historically, it's always been a criminal offence. and it's always been classified as tax evasion. You may hear the phrase tax avoidance, by the way. Tax avoidance is perfectly legal. It's something that I would encourage many taxpayers to actually look at, and that's where you manage your affairs such that you minimise your tax liability. So paying pension contributions, claiming the expenses that you're entitled to, is an example of tax avoidance. The rich do it, the not so rich do it, and every individual in the UK should be doing it as well. What is not acceptable is where you hide your income, you overstate your expenses. That has always been a very naughty wave your finger by HMRC, and that won't go away. The pressure on HMRC, they're investing resources to actually police the system, to monitor the system, and they will envisage there's a large amount of tax that's gone uncollected. Now, for any reason you happen to be caught up in that net, folks, remember HMRC reserves the right to go back even further if they suspect there's been many years of undeclared income. So folks, I hope you found this useful. And in talking of tax, by the way, please do check out the show notes. If you're somebody who was already in the self-assessment system and you haven't quite got round to doing your tax return, there is a free webinar I'm running, one for small businesses, one for artists and creatives here, on what you need to do to complete your tax return, the expenses that you can claim, the procedures, the process, and what you do, for example, if you don't have the money to pay your tax liability. The webinar itself is free. Just check out the show notes for a link to registration, and I hope I see you on there on one of those events. If you found anything in this video that resonates, if you think, that applies to me, I'm not quite sure what to do, please do check out the links, by the way, give us a call. And until then, folks, here, carry on with the gig economy by all means, but bear in mind, HMRC will now be policing it much more actively with the help of the digital bill that's coming into effect on the 1st of January 2024.